Hey warriors, welcome back to the channel. 5 years ago, I watched something that changed how I see human interaction forever. I was in a coffee shop, working on my laptop, when a man walked in. Nothing special about him. Average height, average build, dressed like everyone else. But the moment he stepped through that door, something shifted in the room. People moved. Not dramatically, not obviously, but they moved. They created space. They avoided eye contact. They suddenly became very interested in their phones. And this man, he didn't say a word. He didn't make threats. He didn't even look at anyone directly. He just walked to the counter, ordered his coffee, and left. But in those 3 minutes, I watched an entire room of people unconsciously submit to his presence. That's when I realized something most people never understand. Fear isn't something you consciously show. It's something you leak. And predators, they don't see it. They smell it. You think you're hiding your fear. You think you're doing a good job keeping it together. You're smiling, nodding, acting confident. But there are people around you right now who know exactly how scared you are. They can sense it, not because you said anything, not because you did anything obvious, but because fear has a scent. And once someone smells it on you, everything changes. They start testing you, pushing boundaries, taking liberties, not because they're evil, but because nature has programmed them to exploit weakness. Just like a wolf pack singles out the limping deer, just like sharks circle the bleeding fish. Humans, whether they know it or not, are wired to detect and exploit fear. Machiavelli understood this 500 years ago. He wrote that men are quick to change allegiance when they sense weakness in their leader. He wasn't talking about obvious weakness. He was talking about the subtle scent of fear that predators can detect before you even know you're broadcasting it. Right now, you're leaking fear signals you don't even know exist. The way you pause before speaking. The way your eyes dart when someone challenges you. The slight tension in your shoulders when you walk into a room. The micro-hesitation before you make a decision. These aren't conscious choices. They're unconscious broadcasts. And the people around you, especially the ones looking for opportunities, they're receiving those signals loud and clear. You think you're having a normal conversation. They're reading your fear like a neon sign. You think you're holding your ground. They're watching you flinch in ways you don't even notice. You think you're projecting confidence. They're smelling the anxiety underneath. And once they smell it, you become a target. Not always in obvious ways. Sometimes it's subtle. They start speaking to you differently. They start making decisions without consulting you. They start taking what used to be yours. And you wonder why. You wonder what changed. What changed as they smelled your fear. And fear, in the human world, is an invitation. The brutal truth is this. Most people are not consciously predatory. They don't wake up thinking, I'm going to exploit someone's weakness today. But humans, like all animals, have instincts. And one of our deepest instincts is to identify who is strong and who is weak, who is safe to challenge and who is dangerous to cross. This happens automatically, unconsciously, and it happens through scent. Not literal smell, though that's part of it, but the psychological scent of fear. The subtle signals that communicate, this person is uncertain, this person is vulnerable, this person can be pushed. Machiavelli observed that people respect strength not because they love it, but because they fear what happens when they don't. He understood that human respect is not earned through goodness or fairness. It's earned through the absence of exploitable weakness. When people sense you're afraid, they lose respect. Not because they want to, but because their instincts tell them you're not a threat. And what's not a threat doesn't deserve respect. Before we go deeper, I need you to understand something critical. This video is not about becoming cruel. It's not about becoming a predator yourself. It's about becoming invisible to predators. It's about learning to mask the fear that makes you a target. It's about moving through the world without broadcasting vulnerability to those who would exploit it. Because the reality is, you can be kind, generous, and good. But if you smell like fear, predators will find you. And they won't stop until they've taken everything you were too afraid to protect. Machiavelli once said, the lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. One must therefore be a fox to recognize traps and a lion to frighten wolves. What he meant is this. You must learn to hide your fear like a fox hides its scent. And you must learn to project danger like a lion projects its roar. Not through aggression, but through the absence of fear signals that invite predation. Now I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. From today, I am odorless to predators. Because what you're about to learn will teach you how to move through life without leaking the fear that makes you prey. You'll learn what signals you're broadcasting without knowing it. You'll learn how predators detect those signals. You'll learn why being fearful is more dangerous than being weak. And most importantly, you'll learn how to mask your fear so completely that predators can't sense you anymore. They'll walk right past you, not because you're invisible, but because you don't smell like prey. This is the knowledge that separates those who get exploited from those who get respected, those who spend their lives being tested from those who are never questioned, those who constantly have to prove themselves from those whose presence alone commands deference. The difference isn't talent. It's not intelligence. It's not even actual strength. The difference is scent. Do you smell like fear, or do you smell like something that shouldn't be tested? Let's begin. Understanding how predators detect fear starts with understanding what fear actually is. Most people think fear is an emotion you feel inside, something private, something you can hide if you're strong enough. But that's not how fear works. Fear is a biological response. When you're afraid, your body doesn't just feel different. It acts different. Your brain, sensing danger, triggers your sympathetic nervous system. Your heart rate increases. Your breathing becomes shallow. Your muscles tense. Your pupils dilate. Blood rushes from your extremities to your core. You start sweating. Your voice changes pitch. And all of this happens automatically. You can't control it. You can't turn it off. You can only learn to manage its visible effects. But here's what most people don't realize. Even when you manage the obvious signs, the subtle ones remain. And predators, they're not looking for the obvious signs. They're looking for the subtle ones. Machiavelli understood that observation is the foundation of power. He wrote that wise men learn more from their enemies than fools learn from their friends. What he meant is that strategic minds are constantly observing. They're watching how you move, how you speak, how you react. They're collecting data, and the data they're looking for is simple. Can this person be pushed? Is this person afraid? Is this person safe to exploit? They're not doing this consciously most of the time. It's instinct. The same instinct that helped our ancestors survive by identifying who in the tribe was weak and who was strong, who could be dominated and who would fight back. That instinct didn't disappear when we built civilization. It just became more subtle. Now, instead of physical dominance, we have psychological dominance. Instead of obvious threats, we have boundary testing. Instead of physical fights, we have social manipulation. But the detection mechanism is the same. Predators are reading your fear signals, and you're broadcasting them without knowing it. Let's talk about the specific signals that give you away. First, your eyes. When you're afraid, your eye contact changes. Either you hold it too long, trying to prove you're not scared, which creates an unnatural intensity that signals exactly what you're trying to hide, or you break it too quickly, which signals submission. Predators notice both. Confident people have relaxed eye contact. They look at you, but they're not trying to prove anything. They break contact naturally, not reactively. Fearful people's eyes are always making decisions. Should I look? Should I look away? Am I looking too much? Not enough? That internal calculation is visible, and it smells like fear. Second, your voice. When you're afraid, your vocal cords tense. Your voice goes slightly higher. You speak faster, trying to get the words out before your fear becomes obvious. Or you speak slower, over-controlling each word, which creates an artificial precision that signals you're managing something underneath. You also use more filler words. Like, you know. These aren't just verbal tics. They're micro-pauses while your brain works through fear. Predators hear all of this. A voice that comes from fear sounds different than a voice that comes from certainty. Third, your body language. This is where most fear leaks happen because your body responds to fear faster than your conscious mind can control it. When you're afraid, you make yourself smaller. Your shoulders come forward slightly. Your chest collapses inward. You cross your arms or legs, creating barriers. You touch your face, your neck, your hair. These are self-soothing gestures that signal anxiety. You shift your weight from foot to foot. You lean back when you should lean forward. You create distance when engagement would show confidence. All of these micro-movements are invisible to you, but to someone watching, they're a flashing sign that says, this person is uncomfortable, this person is unsure, this person can be pushed. Machiavelli observed that a prince must learn to guard his expressions and movements because men judge by appearances. What he meant is that people don't know what you're thinking. They know what you're showing. And if you're showing fear, even subtly, they'll treat you accordingly. Fourth, your decision-making speed. When you're confident, you make decisions quickly, not recklessly, but decisively. You gather the information you need, you choose, you move forward. When you're afraid, you hesitate. You ask for more time. You seek more opinions. You revisit decisions you've already made. This hesitation is a fear signal. It tells predators that you're uncertain. And uncertainty is weakness. They smell it. And once they smell it, they start making decisions for you. They start taking control, not through force, but through your invitation. Your hesitation invited them to step in. Your indecision created a vacuum they filled. Fifth, your reaction to challenges. When someone challenges a confident person, they respond with calm curiosity or calm dismissal. When someone challenges a fearful person, they react. They get defensive. They over-explain. They justify. They try to prove they're right. This reaction is the loudest fear signal of all. It says, your opinion of me matters so much that I need to convince you I'm worthy. Predators love this, because once they know you need their approval, they can control you by withholding it. Here's the pattern. Fear makes you reactive. Confidence makes you responsive. Reactive people are predictable. You push them, they push back or collapse. Either way, you've controlled their behavior. Responsive people are unpredictable. You push them, they might engage, they might ignore, they might smile, they might strike. You don't know. That uncertainty makes you cautious. That's the difference between smelling like prey and smelling like a predator. Prey reacts. Predators respond. Machiavelli said it is better to be impetuous than cautious when fortune is changing. What he meant is that in moments of pressure, decisive action commands more respect than careful hesitation. People smell your hesitation as fear. They smell your impetuous action as confidence. Even if the action is wrong, the confidence behind it makes people hesitate to challenge you. That hesitation is respect, and respect keeps predators at bay. Now drop this affirmation in the comments. My body does not betray me, because the next section will teach you why predators target the fearful and how that targeting becomes a self-fulfilling cycle that destroys you if you don't break it. Now let's talk about why they target you once they smell your fear. This is where most people get the psychology wrong. They think predators target the weak because predators are evil. But that's not how it works. Predators target the weak because targeting the weak is efficient. Think about it from a pure survival perspective. If you're a predator in nature, do you attack the strongest animal in the herd or the weakest? The weakest. Always the weakest. Not because you hate it, but because it's the path of least resistance. The strong animal might fight back, might injure you, might kill you. The weak animal won't. You can take what you need with minimal risk. This same calculus happens in human interactions. Not consciously, but instinctively. When people sense your fear, they sense safety. Not their safety from you. Their safety in taking from you. Your fear signals that you won't fight back effectively, that you'll accept boundary violations, that you'll rationalize their behavior instead of punishing it. So they push, they test, they take. And each time you don't push back, you confirm their initial assessment. You do smell like prey, and prey gets eaten. Machiavelli wrote that men are so simple and so subject to present necessities that he who seeks to deceive will always find someone who will allow himself to be deceived. He was talking about this exact dynamic. When you broadcast fear, you're broadcasting willingness to be deceived, manipulated, and exploited. Not because you want to be, but because your fear signals that you lack the will to stop it. Predators don't need you to consent. They just need you to not resist effectively. Your fear guarantees that. Here's what the targeting cycle looks like. First, they smell your fear. Something about the way you interact signals vulnerability. Maybe it's how you apologized when you didn't need to. Maybe it's how you asked permission when you could have just acted. Maybe it's the slight tremor in your voice when you disagreed with them. Whatever it was, they detected it. Second, they test you. They push a boundary. Small at first. Maybe they interrupt you mid-sentence. Maybe they make a decision that should have been yours to make. Maybe they take credit for something you did. This is a test. If you let it slide, you pass their test. But passing their test means failing yours. because you've confirmed that you can be pushed. Third, they escalate. Once you've shown you won't defend your boundaries, they push further. They interrupt you more. They make more of your decisions. They take more credit. Each violation is slightly worse than the last. They're conditioning you, training you to accept progressively more disrespect. Fourth, you normalize it. This is where it becomes dangerous. Your brain, trying to protect you from the pain of acknowledging you're being exploited, starts rationalizing their behavior. They're just confident. They're just assertive. They don't mean anything by it. I'm being too sensitive. This rationalization is your fear protecting itself. Because if you admit you're being exploited, you'd have to do something about it. And doing something about it is scary. So your brain convinces you it's not that bad. Fifth, you become the designated prey. Once you've been successfully exploited without consequence, your role in that relationship is set. You're the one who gives. They're the one who takes. You're the one who compromises. They're the one who gets their way. You're the prey. They're the predator. And this dynamic will continue until you break it or until they've taken everything worth taking. Machiavelli observed that friendships that are obtained by payments may be lost when the payments stop. He was talking about transactional relationships. But the deeper truth is this. Relationships based on fear are transactional. You give respect, space, resources, and energy because you're afraid not to. They take because you've shown them they can. The moment you stop giving out of fear, the relationship ends. Because there was no real relationship. There was just predation with your consent. Here's the brutal reality. You're not building relationships with these people. You're feeding them. And the more you feed them, the hungrier they get. This is why being afraid is more dangerous than being weak. Weakness can be hidden. Weakness can be protected. Weakness can exist without consequence if you don't broadcast it. But fear can't be hidden. Fear leaks. And once it leaks, predators smell it. And once they smell it, they come. And they keep coming until you stop smelling like food. Think about the people in your life who drain you. The ones who always need something. The ones who never seem to respect your time, your boundaries, your decisions. Ask yourself honestly, when did that dynamic start? I'll tell you when. It started the first time you showed them fear, and they tested you, and you didn't push back hard enough. That was the moment you became their prey. Everything since then has just been them feeding. Now, here's what most people do at this point. They blame themselves. They think, I need to be stronger. I need to be more confident. I need to stand up for myself. And yes, all of that is true. But there's something you need to understand first. The problem isn't that you're weak. The problem is that you smell weak. There's a difference. You can be strong, but smell weak. You can be capable, but smell vulnerable. You can have power, but smell afraid. And in human dynamics, what people smell matters more than what you actually are. Machiavelli understood this completely. He wrote that everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. Your reality doesn't matter if your appearance broadcasts fear. People will treat you according to what they smell, not according to what you are. This is why you need to learn to mask your fear. Not suppress it. Not eliminate it. Mask it. Fear is natural. Fear is useful. Fear keeps you alert. But broadcasting fear is suicide. It invites exactly what you're afraid of. The goal isn't to stop being afraid. The goal is to stop smelling afraid. And that requires understanding what scent you're currently giving off and how to change it. Now drop this affirmation in the comments. I control what others sense. Because the next section will teach you exactly how to mask your fear so completely that predators can't detect you anymore. You'll learn the specific techniques that make you invisible to those looking for prey. Not by becoming aggressive, not by faking confidence, but by eliminating the micro signals that broadcast fear. Let's learn how to become odorless. Masking your fear starts with understanding a fundamental truth. You can't eliminate fear. Fear is hardwired into your biology. It's kept our species alive for millions of years. The goal isn't to stop feeling fear. The goal is to stop broadcasting it. And that requires training your body to respond differently when your brain sends the fear signal. Most people think masking fear means acting confident. So they put on a performance. Big smile, loud voice, exaggerated gestures. But predators see through this instantly. Fake confidence has its own scent. It's try-hard energy. It's compensation. Real confidence doesn't perform. It simply exists. So how do you mask fear without performing? You start with the foundation, your breath. When you're afraid, your breathing becomes shallow and rapid. This is automatic, your body preparing for fight or flight. But shallow breathing creates visible tension in your shoulders, raises your voice pitch, and makes every other fear signal worse. The single most powerful tool for masking fear is controlling your breath. Not deep breathing like meditation. Strategic breathing. Here's the exact technique. When you feel fear rising, don't take a deep breath. Extend your exhale. Breathe in normally through your nose for 2 counts. Then breathe out slowly through your nose for 4 counts. This activates your parasympathetic nervous system. Your heart rate lowers. Your shoulders drop. Your voice stabilizes. You just told your body there's no danger. I watched this happen in a negotiation. A colleague was about to present terms to a client known for aggressive pushback. Right before walking in, I saw him do 3 strategic exhales. When a client started interrupting and challenging, my colleague's voice stayed level. His shoulders stayed down. He paused, breathed, responded calmly. The client backed off, not because of what was said, because of what wasn't shown. Fear. Next, train your eye contact. Fearful eye contact either holds too long, trying to prove you're not scared, or breaks too soon, signaling submission. Confident eye contact is rhythmic. Here's the pattern. When someone is speaking to you, maintain steady eye contact. Not staring, just present. When you speak, maintain eye contact for your first few words, then naturally glance away as you think, then return. This communicates engagement without approval seeking. Watch how CEOs do interviews. They look at the interviewer, glance down while considering, look back up when answering. It's rhythmic, natural, never desperate. Practice this pattern with everyone. Cashiers, coworkers, friends. Make it automatic. Then when you're actually afraid, your eyes won't betray you. Third, eliminate self-soothing gestures. Touching your face, your hair, your neck. Crossing your arms. Fidgeting. These are unconscious anxiety responses. You can't stop them through willpower alone. Instead, replace them with neutral positions. When standing, hands at your sides or casually in pockets. When sitting, hands resting on the table. When you feel the urge to touch your face, redirect that energy into a deliberate gesture. Clasp your hands intentionally. Rest your chin on your fist with purpose. Deliberate gestures signal control. Reactive gestures signal anxiety. I had a friend who touched his neck every time someone challenged him. Dead giveaway. I told him to replace it. Every time he felt that urge, clasp his hands on the table instead. Took 2 weeks of practice. Now, when people challenge him, he calmly brings his hands together. Looks deliberate. Looks like he's considering. The neck touching stopped. The test stopped too. Fourth, control your verbal pacing. Fearful people either talk too fast, rushing through anxiety, or too slow, over-controlling each word. Confident pacing is natural. You speak at the pace you think. You pause when considering. You continue when certain. You don't fill silence with, You let silence exist. Practice this. When someone asks you a question, pause 1 full second before responding. This gives you time to regulate fear and signals you're thoughtful, not reactive. That pause makes every word afterward carry more weight. Because people sense you chose those words deliberately. Deliberate speech cannot coexist with perceived fear. If you sound deliberate, you can't sound afraid. Fifth, master the neutral face. When you're afraid, your face shows it. Jaw tension, tight eyes, forced smile. Confident people have relaxed faces. Not happy, not sad. Neutral. Practice in a mirror. Let your face completely relax. No expression. This is your default. This is what predators should see when they test you. A neutral face gives them no information. That uncertainty protects you. Sixth, control your reaction speed. When someone tests your boundary or disrespects you, your instinct is to react immediately. Don't. Let 3 seconds pass. In those 3 seconds, regulate your breath, relax your face, decide your response. Then respond calmly. This pause communicates their test didn't trigger you. You're so unbothered you needed time to decide if it even warrants response. That calm consideration terrifies predators because it signals you're not prey. Prey reacts instantly. Predators respond deliberately. These 6 techniques work together. Breath control, eye contact rhythm, no self-soothing, verbal pacing, neutral face, delayed response. You're not faking confidence. You're eliminating the signals that broadcast fear. When those signals disappear, predators lose their ability to smell you. You become neutral, and neutral is invisible. Machiavelli understood that perception shapes reality. You don't need to feel confident. You need to appear confident by regulating fear fast enough that predators can't detect it. Now drop this affirmation in the comments. My body does not betray me. Masking fear makes you invisible to predators. But there's a level beyond invisible. Dangerous. When you master masking, predators can't smell vulnerability, but they're still neutral toward you. They might test once. When you project danger, they don't test at all. They sense immediately that testing you has consequences. This is the final level. Not hiding fear, weaponizing its absence. Machiavelli wrote that it is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. Most people misunderstand this. They think it means being cruel, but Machiavelli was talking about consequence. People fear consequences. When your presence suggests that crossing you has a cost, people become careful. That carefulness is respect, and respect keeps you safe. So how do you project danger without being aggressive? You become unpredictable. Predators rely on patterns. They watch how you react to tests. If you always react the same way, you're predictable. And predictable means controllable. But if your reactions vary, if sometimes you engage and sometimes you ignore, if sometimes you're warm and sometimes you're cold, you become unpredictable. And unpredictable is dangerous. Because danger comes from not knowing what happens when you cross someone. Here's how to weaponize unpredictability. First, vary your response to the same provocation. If someone interrupts you, sometimes stop and let them speak. Sometimes continue speaking as if they didn't interrupt. Sometimes stop, look at them, say nothing, then continue. They can't predict which response they'll get. That uncertainty makes them hesitate before interrupting again. I saw this in action with a manager. Same employee interrupted him in 3 different meetings. First time, he stopped and listened. Second time, he kept talking. Third time, he stopped, held eye contact for 5 seconds, then continued without acknowledging the interruption. That employee never interrupted again. Not because he was told not to, because he couldn't predict the consequence. Second, vary your response time. Sometimes respond immediately to disrespect. Sometimes respond hours later. Sometimes never respond at all. This variation teaches people that your response time is unpredictable. They can't assume silence means acceptance. They can't assume immediate response means they got to you. You've removed their ability to read you. Third, vary your emotional availability. Sometimes be warm and engaged. Sometimes be distant and unavailable. Not randomly, strategically. When people respect your boundaries, be warm. When they test boundaries, be distant. They learn that your warmth is conditional on their behavior. But because they can't predict exactly when you'll shift, they become careful. They don't want to lose access to your warmth by accidentally triggering your distance. This dynamic gives you control. Fourth, master disproportionate response. Most people respond proportionally. Small disrespect gets small pushback. Big disrespect gets big pushback. This is predictable. Instead, occasionally respond to a small violation with significant consequence. Someone makes a minor disrespectful comment. You don't argue. You just stop engaging with them entirely for a period of time. This disproportionate response sends a message. I don't tolerate even small violations. And if I respond this strongly to small things, imagine what happens with big things. This creates a mythology around you. People start warning each other. Don't test him. You don't know how he'll react. That warning is your shield. A colleague once made a slightly dismissive comment about my work in a meeting. Small thing. I said nothing. But for the next 2 weeks, I was professionally cordial but completely unavailable for the informal help I usually gave him. No explanation, just distance. After 2 weeks, I resumed normal interaction. He never made another dismissive comment. And he told others, I heard it through the network. Be careful with him. He doesn't forget. I never said that. But my disproportionate response said it for me. Fifth, control when you show strength. Most people show strength immediately when challenged. This is predictable. Instead, sometimes let small challenges pass unchallenged. Let people think they got away with something. Then, when they escalate, respond with overwhelming strength. This pattern teaches people that your patience isn't weakness. It's strategy. They pushed once, nothing happened. They pushed twice, nothing happened. They pushed a third time, and suddenly you're immovable. Now they don't know where the line is. They don't know what's safe to test. Sixth, never explain your decisions when challenged. Explanation is justification. Justification is defense. Defense signals the challenger has power to question you. When someone challenges your decision, you have three options. Reaffirm without explanation. Ignore the challenge entirely. Change the subject. All three communicate the same thing. Your decision is not up for discussion. Seventh, master the strategic pause. When someone says something designed to provoke you, don't respond immediately. Let silence hang. Look at them calmly. 3, 4, 5 seconds. Then either respond with something completely calm or don't respond at all. This pause is psychological warfare. During those seconds, they're wondering what you're thinking. Are you angry? Planning something? Unbothered? They don't know. That not knowing creates anxiety in them. You've reversed the dynamic. Now they're the ones feeling uncertain. Eighth, demonstrate you don't need them. Predators target people who need validation or resources from others. When you demonstrate you're fine without them, you become less appealing as prey. Turn down an invitation without explanation. Disagree with group consensus without trying to convince anyone. Make a decision that benefits you even if it inconveniences them. These demonstrations communicate independence. And independence is dangerous because independent people can't be controlled. Machiavelli wrote that a wise prince takes precautions against both friends and enemies. When everyone knows that testing you has unpredictable consequences, no one tests you. You've made yourself unsafe to exploit. You're not hiding. You're not performing. You're simply someone whose boundaries are real, whose responses are unpredictable, and whose consequences are certain. Now drop this affirmation in the comments. I am dangerous to test, that you've just learned something most people never understand. Fear is not your enemy. Broadcasting fear is your enemy. The fear itself is useful. It alerts you to danger. It keeps you sharp. But the moment you broadcast fear, you invite exactly what you're afraid of. You become prey. This is the paradox. The more you show fear, the more danger you attract. The more you mask it, the safer you become. Machiavelli understood that all human interaction is a negotiation of power. Power flows toward those who appear to have it, and away from those who appear to lack it. When you broadcast fear, you broadcast lack of power. When you mask fear, you suggest you might have power. When you project danger, you confirm you have power. Right now, you have a choice. Continue moving through the world leaking fear signals, allowing predators to smell your vulnerability, spending your life being tested and exploited. Or start today. Train your body to mask the fear your brain sometimes feels. Eliminate the signals that broadcast vulnerability. Become invisible to predators by removing the scent that attracts them. Here's what your life looks like when you master this. First, people stop testing you. You'll notice immediately. Conversations that used to include subtle challenges don't anymore. People who used to push boundaries suddenly respect them. Not because you got aggressive, but because you stopped smelling like someone who tolerates violations. Second, you stop exhausting yourself managing other people's behavior. When you broadcast fear, you spend enormous energy preventing exploitation, setting boundaries that get ignored, explaining yourself repeatedly, pushing back against constant tests. When you mask fear and project danger, that energy is freed. People manage themselves around you. They self-regulate. They think twice. You're no longer defending. You're just existing. And your existence is enough. Third, the quality of your relationships improves. When you stop attracting predators, you start attracting different people. People who respect boundaries. People who value mutual respect. People who aren't looking for prey. Your life becomes populated with equals, not opportunists. Fourth, your confidence actually improves. Most people think you need confidence first, then you mask fear. It's the opposite. When you mask fear and see that predators stop targeting you, your brain starts believing maybe you're not as vulnerable as you thought. Real confidence comes from evidence. The evidence that predators no longer see you as prey becomes proof that you're not prey. That proof builds genuine confidence. Fifth, you reclaim your energy. Fear is exhausting, not the emotion itself, but managing the consequences of broadcasting it, dealing with exploitation, repairing crossed boundaries, explaining yourself to people who don't respect you. When you stop broadcasting fear, all of that stops. Your energy returns, and you can use it for building instead of defending. Here's your action plan. For the next 7 days, practice the 6 fear-masking techniques every day. Breath control when you feel fear rising. Eye contact rhythm in every conversation. Eliminate self-soothing gestures. Control your verbal pacing. Maintain a neutral face. Delay your responses to tests by 3 seconds. These are micro-adjustments. But micro-adjustments in how you broadcast create macro changes in how people treat you. After 7 days, add unpredictability. Vary your responses. Be warm sometimes, distant sometimes. Respond to small violations disproportionately occasionally. Never explain decisions when challenged. Practice strategic silence. Demonstrate independence. After 30 days, evaluate. Notice who's still in your life and who faded away. The ones that ended were predatory relationships. You stopped feeding them. They left. That's not loss. That's a filter working. The relationships that improved were real, built on mutual respect. Those are worth keeping. Machiavelli believed that fortune favors the bold. But boldness doesn't mean recklessness. It means acting decisively when you understand the situation. You now understand. You've been broadcasting fear. Predators have been responding. You can change the broadcast starting today. That's boldness. Not waiting until you feel confident. Starting now, with fear still present but masked. That's true courage. Feeling the fear and broadcasting strength anyway. Remember, the goal is not to become a predator. The goal is to become invisible to predators. To move through the world without attracting those who exploit fear. To build relationships based on respect, not power imbalances. To reclaim the energy you've been wasting defending yourself from people who should never have been testing you. You are not prey. You never were. You just smelled like it. And now you know how to change your scent. If this video showed you the invisible dynamic controlling your life, hit that like button. If you know someone being exploited because they broadcast fear, share this video with them. You might change their life. Subscribe because understanding human psychology is how you protect yourself in a world full of people who would exploit you if it seemed safe. Before you go, commit. Drop this final declaration in the comments. From this moment, I am odorless to predators. Say it. Mean it. Live it. Because fear is natural. Broadcasting fear is optional. Real strength is feeling fear and showing nothing. Real power is being afraid and appearing dangerous. Real mastery is moving through a world full of predators without ever smelling like prey. That's what you're becoming. Not fearless, but odorless. Not aggressive, but dangerous. Not prey, but invisible to those looking for weakness. The predators are still out there. They're still looking, but they're not looking at you anymore. Because you don't smell like food. You smell like something that shouldn't be tested. Welcome to your new reality. You're no longer prey.